celebrating the power of possibility.
My name is Marcus Hilliard, and I believe anything is possible.
This is Anything is Possible. This is Marcus Hilliard. These are great stories about great people whose lives prove possibility. Marcus, what we do is the star of the show is possibility. The stories from people's lives are the spotlight we put on possibility. Like, we believe stuff is possible. And when I met you, we were in a restaurant when I met you, if I remember correctly, impressed with you right out the gate. But this is what was said to me immediately. Somebody said, you know, that's David Cutcliffe's son, right? Mm-hmm. He said his name was Marcus Hilliard. Mm-hmm. That man's name is David Cutcliffe. Hilliard Cutcliffe. Hilliard Cutcliffe. Hilliard Cutcliffe.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You gotta have an amazing story.
Listen, if you see my mom and you see my legs, you won't be able to tell us apart. You know we're family. We get it all the time. Yeah, you know, you talk about possibilities, and you know, I'm a product of it. You know, with saying anything is possible, and I wholeheartedly believe that. You know, born and raised in Oxford, Mississippi, and that's kind of where my story begins. And my best friend, who's also now my adopted brother, moved to Oxford in 6th grade. My dad had just left Tennessee from being offensive coordinator and had just accepted the Ole Miss head coaching job in Oxford, and moved there. And then I ran into him in the school. My brother was lost. He was looking for his next class. And I said, hey, I'm going there. I can show you that way. And so from there, we got to talking in the hallways. And then from then, it was just like this, just immediately we got to talking. And so we formed a really good relationship. It was always, I was over their house. He was always at mine. You know, my mom, my biological mom, and my adopted mom became really close that way as well. And just, we kind of locked step. And then, you know, like, as with everything, you know, kind of adversity happens and it hits. And going into the summer of my 8th grade year, my biological mom became really ill. And we later learned that it was lung cancer. And, you know, so at that point in time, my biological mom is my rock. She's the only person that I got in this world. I'm thinking, I don't know what to do. And so ultimately she ends up passing away from it. And so I go into this period of, you know, just bouncing around with different, you know, biological family members. Nothing was really stable. So my brother was, my biological brother took the passing really hard and kind of spiraled a little bit. And I kind of bounced around from home to home. But the one thing that was constant was my brother Chris, my adopted family, and they were always looking out for me regardless. And going into my sophomore and junior years in high school, I kind of struggled because, you know, one, to find myself, but also to, you know, get back to some sense of normalcy. And it finally got to a point where they just said, listen, you know, we're you know, tired of seeing you kind of go through it. So, you know, we're gonna make this thing full turn. Why don't you come be with us? And that was honestly one of the best days of my life. In addition to me being married, it was it. Like, I knew it was a right fit. They were always my family. So that's when it became real. But yeah, you take a look at us and you wouldn't even think it. You wouldn't even think it.
What a story, what a journey. And you compressed it into a couple of minutes, but there's no way a couple of minutes could even begin to express the highs, the lows, the good, the bad. Take me back to your mom, your biological mom. You said she and your adoptive mom became great friends. Do you think your mother was working behind the scenes because she knew? I do.
I think, you know, again, in Oxford, again, you know, growing up, you know, back in the day, you know, black people stayed black people and white people stayed with white people. And so I think early on, my mom was kind of like, you know, what's going on here? Because again, I'd been exposed to other people that look like me. I was naturally just an outgoing kid and I could be friends with anybody. I'd come up here and I can talk to the wall and have a great conversation. But my mom was kind of skeptical because she was protective at first. And then, you know, my adopted mom just kept working on it because she saw the relationship between my brother and I, and over time just got to her. And so she saw that, hey, listen, this lady lady that I don't know really cares about my son. So this is really important to me. And so they formed a really good relationship. And like I said, I was always there at their house and kind of vice versa. We were always through it. And then as she started getting sick, I later learned that they started having some real conversations. And, my biological mom said, listen, Karen, I don't know, what's going to happen. I don't know how much longer I have. But, what I want you to promise me is that Marcus will be looked after and Marcus will get a college degree. That's all I want. I wasn't able to do that. I want that for him. He's a bright young man. And, my mom, Karen, made that promise to her. She said, Miss Genevieve, I promise you, David and I will do everything that we can to make sure that he is loved, he is respected, and he gets that college degree. And again, I only learned that years after I graduated from college. Had no idea. I just kept on going. And, but you, to your point, you could sense it. Like they knew they were working.
I love those positive conspiracies. Your biological dad.
Mm-hmm. Not around. Just wasn't around.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel.
Your biological dad.
Mm-hmm. Not around. Just wasn't around.
How'd that affect you? How'd that shape you?
It was tough, but my mom never really let it become an issue because she was always there. I mean, you're talking about a strong individual, a black woman born in the early 40s in Mississippi. High school education was all she had. She, worked odds and ends jobs. And I mean, again, I'm a product of Section 8 housing. But she never let any of that get to us. I went to school, my pants were creased, my shirts were ironed, and that was who we were. And she was like, doesn't matter the situation, doesn't matter, you're going to survive and you're going to succeed, but you better remember one thing, you better treat people with respect. You better, because at the end of the day, when you leave this house, you're a representation of me. And I learned that at an early age, just to, walk the right path and do people the right way and treat people with respect. And she was proud of that. But at the end of the day, she said, listen, we're in this thing together. It's just me and you. And so, of course, growing up and, wanting a father figure, wasn't around, but, she never she was there at sporting events. She was there and she never let it become, anything that I couldn't overcome.
I'm always amazed at people who come from tough beginnings, people who go through really hard circumstances. I'm amazed that they find a way to believe that something's possible. Mm-hmm. Even when it's not probable, mm-hmm. they believe that it's possible, and they believe in you, they believe with you, and they believe for you. Mm-hmm. Doesn't it amaze you that your mother, even as she's transitioning, even as she's still believing that it's a possibility from Oxford, Mississippi, mm-hmm. that my son could go on to do great things, and what I can do is everything that I know?
Absolutely. I mean, you spoke to it. I mean, you don't know, but isn't it funny how our steps are ordered? Isn't it funny how when we think, that there's nothing else that can be done, or, we don't know where to go, man, those steps has already been ordered. So you just hang on. And there are people that are working on your behalf that are there that's going to help you. You may, in some places, you don't even know. You don't even know. But again, it's impressive to know.
When you say my dad, mm-hmm. you say it with a level of love, connection, and commitment that, I love my dad, mm-hmm. right? You say it that way. Tell me about this relationship between you and Coach Cutcliffe that puts you in that position. That doesn't just happen.
No. That's my guy. He, from the very beginning, has been a formidable person in my life where he is just, I don't know, I just grew up, I loved, watching him and how he worked. I just kind of wanted to emulate him.
What'd you see?
He's just a person successful, but you're just a person that everybody loved and respect. I mean, in this position that, in a lot of places, you could get into a high position as being a head coach of a Southeastern Conference university. You can let it go to your head, and that's not him. He was the same person through and through. I mean, helping anybody. He's going up talking to ushers, going up talking to the custodians and leaving them money for their Christmases to help their families and during the holidays and stuff like that. So when I see those actions, and again, everything that he says, he's practiced what he preaches, that's a no-brainer to me. That's how I need to live my life. That's who I need to live up to being.
So you are Senior Associate, Athletic Director, Chief of Staff, University of Tennessee. That's a long title. Did you think you were going to end up here?
I didn't, man. You know, it's crazy how it works in our business. But, you know, in the back of your mind, you hope you have an opportunity, especially a place like University of Tennessee, where I had an opportunity to get my education from here and had a great experience at UT. But in our world and in our business, you never think, man, you know, at some point in time, you're going to have an opportunity to go back to your alma mater, where it means a lot for you to go back and have an impact. But I just knew if I just kept working and kept grinding, my steps were ordered. So at some point in time, it might happen.
What'd you study?
Communication studies.
Coming from my job, okay. See, why did you study that?
Funny thing, so when I originally got to UT, I was going to do sport management. And when I first got into the classes, they told me the prerequisites and the business administrations, the economy and the economics and everything. And I got into that first econ class and I was like, oh no, I'm good on this. And I changed my major to criminal justice. And I had a good conversation, one of the quickest conversations ever with David Cutcliffe. He said, hey man, let's have a talk. I said, yes, sir, what's going on? And he said, well, so your mom tells me you want to change your major to criminal justice. I said, yes, sir. He said, that's a great field. You know, police officers are very much needed. They're respected. He said, listen, if we're going to pay for you to go to school here, you might want to change that to something else that you think could be more transferable. He said, but you mean, hey, listen, if you want to be a police officer, you can go to police academy. That's perfectly fine, but we're going to save a few bucks this way. And so I said, all right. And then he said, you know, you may want to look into communications. I think Peyton got his major in that, you know, and, you know, if it was good enough for him, you know, I figured it might be good enough for me. So I had a conversation with Dr. John Haas. I'll never forget it. And he said, you know, Marcus, what do you think about communications? And I said, it's talking. He said, but it's so much more than that. You have no idea. And again, that's the theme of my life here. You have what's supposed to be quick meetings with people. They turn into hour-long conversations. And I said, yep, that's exactly what I want to do.
I think when people are growth ready, growth eager, opportunities start to emerge. I think that's why 15-minute conversations turn into hour-and-a-half conversations. Mm-hmm. I love to tell this story. I was working on this construction site. It was my first job working construction. The old man, Brother Watts, is there. He's 70 years old. He was from Mississippi, always 30 minutes early. And I show up the first day and I got on tennis shoes and he looks me up and down. He says, boy, it looks like you dressed to play. What are you talking about? He said, you need some work boots. You're gonna step on the nail. I'm like, what is going on, man? He said, you know how to swing a hammer? Yeah, absolutely. I said, all right. So we get to work and we're working and I'm choking up on the hammer and I'm like, tick, 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 tick. Brother Watts is driving him in 2-3 swings, right? We get through the day and I'm falling way behind. I step on a nail. I mean, I'm hopping around and I finally go to him and said, Brother Watts, will you help me? You know what he said to me, Marcus? He said, I was waiting on you to want to. He said, I can show you how to, but I can't make you want to.
That's right.
And I don't waste my how to on them that don't want to. But if you want to, and you got this want to in you. I think that's what people are attracted to, is that desire to learn, to grow, and be better. And that want to is what unlocks how to. At least that's what I've discovered. So that still doesn't get me to being a senior associate athletic director.
No, you're right.
Communications would put you over here.
That's right. You know, it was just the opportunity, again, to just serve, I think has been big in me. And I love being around our student athletes and being able to impact their lives, especially ones that look like me, because I know we all come from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different socioeconomic statuses, however you want to phrase it. But the one thing that higher education does for us, it provides us all an opportunity to do something more. And so when I take a look at our student athletes and I see a lot of myself in them, and I really do. And so I just remember wanting that opportunity just to be given a shot, just to prove myself. That's it. And so when I decided, hey, I think I do want to go into higher education, but work in athletics, because I still love sport, very much a competitor at heart. But
what sports did you play?
Oh man, football was my love. It really was. But
what
I was
position?
I was a receiver in DB. But you could find me. I was outside. Me and my brother were going at it in war basketball, and then I could pick up a baseball bat and I could swing it, and I could run. I just love being active. Just loved it. So that love of it, saying, all right, well, my dad said, listen, you figure out, what you want to do in life. He said, don't focus on just going to work. He said, go focus on where you can have an impact, and then it become a passion of yours. Then it's not work. It's not work.
Have you faced any racism?
Oh yeah.
Did you run into any friction being the black son of a white father?
Funny story. We were coming back from a international trip from Turks and Caicos, family trip, and we're in the Atlanta airport. And I'll never forget it. So we're getting ready to come back from international to the university side, and we got a beeline to make our plane through Atlanta back to Knoxville. And they're holding me up. I have my passport, I have everything, but they're holding me up, and my dad, he's already in front of me. Everybody, my entire family's in front of me, but they're holding me back. They're confused. They can't figure out, well, wait a minute. He said that that's his son. Wait a minute. And so they're holding me back, and my dad's just like, listen, if y'all don't hurry up and get on a good foot, we're going to miss our flight, and it's going to be a problem. And then he said, Marcus, what's going on? And I said, I don't know. And then he turned around and he said, listen, that boy is my son. He has his passport. He has all his documentation. If you do not let him through, there's going to be a big problem. The man looked at him and said, okay, sir, here you go. But I was being held up because I didn't look like my family.
To me. How did he cope with that? Have you talked to him about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing I can say about David Cutcliffe, he's a sharp tool. And growing up in Alabama, my grandma, his mom, always had him exposed to people that didn't look like him. They were poor in Alabama, rural Alabama, and he grew up and got along with everybody. So my testament to my grandmama and how he was raised, he didn't really see race. Even in racist Alabama, he still played with the kids that didn't look like him because he was an athlete. And he learned through those experiences that, just because you look different don't mean you should be treated differently regardless of where you come from. So, and we had a great conversation about it even after the fact. He said, could you believe that guy holding you up and couldn't believe that you were my son? And then we started laughing and just kept on.
Have you caught anything from black people as a result of this?
Of course, of course. You start smiling and in my head, I'm instantly playing it. But, I just try to bring people together.
Look, our show is called Anything is Possible. Mm-hmm. And I think your family is a representation of what's possible. Mm-hmm. It's a representation of God's kingdom.
That's right.
It's a representation of the way God sees us anyway. I tell people this all the time. God is bigger than politics, and humanity is bigger than race.
That's right. That's right.
Right? And if one God made us all, who do you make the mistake on?
My God doesn't make mistakes.
Right. So we're supposed to be. So I think your life, your family is a fulfillment of the grand possibility of us as human beings just being able to love each other. Mm-hmm. Like love is the answer to
Absolutely.
everything. It really is. We still don't figure out how you become an athletic director.
Listen. Sometimes I ask myself that. I got into the business and I just worked. I wanted to do whatever I could. My current boss, Danny White, his father, Kevin White, gave me my first opportunity at Duke, and I'll never forget it. He said, just be a sponge, Marcus. He said, if you want to do anything within this business, just learn as much as you possibly can. And so from that, opportunities happened, and I just kept, proving myself time after time. I just said, hey, listen, if something is for me, I'm gonna work to it. And one thing you ain't gonna be able to do is outwork me. So that's what I did.
So you got that work ethic. But I found out prior to our taping today, you're working on a PhD. We're about to call you Dr. Marcus Hilliard.
Man, listen, it's a grind, but never stop learning. We never stop learning, and I'm excited about it. The journey has been thus far long. And it's been a progress, but I tell you, I've learned so much about myself even then.
What'd you learn?
Oh, man, I know that I don't quit, that I don't stop, that I keep working, and that I believe truly that anything is possible. In my wildest dreams, I would have never imagined I would be working on a doctorate degree. Just wouldn't. But man, it's proven to myself that really anything is possible. I am in these classes and I am grinding. I am working on these papers. After I read them, some of the times I'm just like, who is this guy? I couldn't believe it, but it's adding to my growth. It's adding to who I am wanting to become even years down the road, and it's truly a blessing.
Your wife is working on a PhD as well?
She is. She's impressive. She is an assistant principal, local high school here, and she is doing it simultaneously, and she's on the fast track. So she goes from one school to the next school, and I say, hey, I'm still over here. Like I'd like some time too. And but man, she's my rock. She really is. She's a grinder. I kind of get a lot of my energy from her. She's awesome.
Do you want to be an athletic director?
Absolutely. That's the goal. That is the plan. Yes.
I think it's gonna happen. I think anything is possible. But I think, at the core of the larger possibilities that await you is your desire to serve, right?
That's right.
Because the best leaders are servant leaders at heart, and I think you've served us well here today, Dr. Marcus Hilliard. No, we're claiming it now.
All right.
Dr.
I'll take
Marcus
that. I'll
Hilliard.
receive it.
Thank you for being on Anything
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.